We're going to uncover the fascinating history of the 1976-era bicentennial quarter dollar, reveal the rarest and most valuable coins, and show you how to spot them in your own collection. But what if I told you that hidden among these bicentennial dollars are rare era coins that can be worth hundreds, thousands, and in some cases even millions of dollars? That's right, an ordinary-looking coin could secretly hold a life-changing fortune. The history of 1976 bicentennial quarter dollar. The year 1976 was one of the most celebrated in American history, the 200th anniversary of independence. To honor this milestone, the U.S. Mint broke tradition and redesigned circulating coins for the first time in decades. 3 coins were chosen for this special tribute: the quarter, redesigned with a colonial drummer; the half dollar, showing Independence Hall; and the dollar, which remained the largest circulating coin. The rare errors and valuable. Double die errors DDO. $1,000 to $1,500. Off-center strikes. $2,000 to $5,000. Wrong planchet errors. $20,000 to $40,000. Blockage errors. $50,000 to $70,000. Record-breaking auction sales. Let's talk about real money, what collectors have actually paid. A 1976 bicentennial quarter dollar struck on a silver planchet sold for over $88,000 at auction. A dramatic off-metal strike fetched nearly $95,000. And unique transitional pieces have been valued in the hundreds of thousands to millions, depending on condition and provenance. These sales prove that the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar is far more than a commemorative coin, it's a potential treasure. How to identify a rare 1976-era bicentennial quarter dollar. If you have one of these coins or you find one in a collection, here's what you need to check. The edge. Copper nickel coins show copper on the edge, while silver ones have a bright, solid edge. The weight. A clad coin weighs 22.68 grams, while a silver one weighs 24.59 grams. The strike. Look for off-center designs, doubling, or unusual details. The planchet. If the coin feels thin, thick, or unusually heavy, it may be a wrong planchet error. The mint mark. Look below Eisenhower's neck for AD, Denver, S San Francisco, or no mark, Philadelphia. Always use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to spot fine details. Why collectors love this coin. The bicentennial Eisenhower dollar is loved for 3 reasons. History. It celebrates America's 200th birthday. Design. The Liberty Bell over the moon is one of the most creative coin designs ever made. Errors. The high mintage and rushed production opened the door for valuable mistakes. Together, these make it one of the most exciting coins to collect. Final thoughts. So the next time you come across a bicentennial quarter dollar, don't dismiss it as pocket change. That 1976-era coin could be worth a fortune, anywhere from a few $100s to millions. This is why coin collecting is so thrilling. A simple dollar can unlock a story of history, artistry, and unbelievable value. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a bicentennial dollar? Have you ever checked to see if it's one of these rare errors? Drop a comment below and share your story. The story of the 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollar is one of the most fascinating in all of modern American coinage. Imagine reaching into your pocket change, pulling out what looks like an ordinary dollar coin, and realizing it could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few $100s, but in some cases thousands or even millions of dollars. That's the kind of excitement that surrounds this. Is not just another piece of metal, it's a piece of history. A coin that marked the first time the United States ever struck a small-sized dollar coin featuring a real American woman. But hidden among the millions produced in Denver in 1979 are the rarest errors and misstrikes. Let's set the stage. It was 1979, and the U.S. Mint was preparing to replace the bulky Eisenhower dollar with something smaller and more convenient for daily use. They turned to the image of Susan B. Anthony, the legendary suffragist who dedicated her life to women's rights. The coin itself was historic, but it had one problem: it looked too much like a quarter. Cashiers, machines, and even the public were constantly confusing it with the 25-cent piece. That meant most people didn't care for the coin. But what people didn't realize at the time was that some of the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollars struck in Denver had unusual characteristics, minting flaws, or die errors that would one day make them worth staggering amounts of money. Think about this. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Susan B. Anthony dollars in 1979, yet only a handful of them carry errors so dramatic that they are considered once-in-a-lifetime finds. When collectors talk about the 1979 D-error Susan B. Anthony dollar, they are talking about coins with double dies, off-center strikes, filled mint marks, die clashes, planchet errors, and in some cases extreme anomalies that can turn a $1 coin into a prize worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. One of the most famous categories of 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollar coins are the double dies. Imagine looking closely at the date or the lettering around the rim and seeing a ghost-like second image, as if the coin had been stamped twice. To collectors, this doubling isn't a flaw, it's treasure. A strong double die on a 1979 D Susan B. Anthony dollar can fetch hundreds of dollars, sometimes more, depending on how visible and dramatic the doubling. But it doesn't stop there. Off-center strikes are another rare type of 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollar that collectors drool over. Picture a coin where the design wasn't struck right in the middle, but instead shifted, leaving part of the planchet blank. A slight off-center strike might bring in a few $100s, but if the coin is off by 40%, 50%, or more while still showing the date, the value skyrockets. Some of these off-center 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollars have been auctioned for well over $5,000 to $7,000 simply because they are so unusual and rare. $9,000. Now let's talk about planchet errors. These happen when the blank piece of metal used to strike the coin wasn't prepared correctly. Some 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollar coins have been discovered on the wrong metal stock, struck on planchets meant for quarters, nickels, or even foreign coins. Imagine owning a Susan B. Anthony dollar that was struck on a copper nickel-clad quarter planchet. It looks odd, weighs differently, and instantly becomes a collectible rarity worth thousands. And the rarer the mistake, the higher the value. There are examples of coins like this that have reached into the tens of thousands at auction, all starting from a single mishap at the Denver Mint in 1979. Even coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified these errors, documenting their rarity and confirming their jaw-dropping auction results. A pristine, high-grade, dramatic 1979 D-era Susan B. Anthony dollar is a coin that can rewrite a collector's future. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American history, the 1976 D Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar with rare mint errors. We'll uncover its history, why it was created, the errors that make some of these coins incredibly rare, and most importantly how much they're worth today, so stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your collection or even in your spare change, and it could make you rich. The history of 1976 D Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar. The year 1976 wasn't just another year in American history. It was the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a celebration of America's bicentennial. The U.S. Mint knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and they wanted to mark it with something truly special. For the first time ever, the United States redesigned not one, but 3 circulating coins to honor the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, with a brand new reverse featuring the Liberty. The rare errors and valuable off-center strikes. $5,000 to $7,000. Double dies DDO. $2,000 to $5,000. Wrong planchet errors. $20,000 to $50,000. Silver-clad transitional errors. $30,000 to $40,000. The auction sales price and valuable. Over the years, some incredible 1976 D Eisenhower dollars have crossed the auction block. A 1976 D silver-clad error graded MS-67 sold for nearly $75,000. A spectacular off-metal strike brought in over $80,000 at heritage auctions. And the rarest of all transitional and experimental planchet errors have been valued in the millions, though they rarely appear for public sale. These jaw-dropping prices prove one thing: the right bicentennial-like dollar isn't just pocket change, it's life-changing money. How to identify a rare 1976 D. Eisenhower dollar. If you're sitting at home wondering whether you have one of these treasures, here's what to look for. Check the mint mark. Look for the small D under Eisenhower's neck. Examine the edge. Silver coins will have a more solid, white edge, while clad coins show copper. Look for doubling. Use a magnifying glass to inspect Liberty, and the Liberty Bell on the reverse. Check for off-center strikes. The design should be centered. If it isn't, you may have a valuable error. Weigh the coin. A standard clad dollar weighs about 22.68 grams, while a silver one should weigh 24.59 grams. A mismatch means you could have a rare planchet error. Why collectors love this coin? So why is this coin so beloved? 3 big reasons. Historical importance. It celebrates America's 200th birthday. Unique design. The Liberty Bell over the moon is one of the most creative designs in U.S. coinage history. Error potential. With so many struck at the Denver Mint, the chances of rare errors slipped through the cracks, making it a treasure hunt for collectors. Final thoughts. So, the next time you're flipping through your coin jar or old collection, don't dismiss that big Eisenhower dollar just because you think it's common. That 1976 D bicentennial Eisenhower dollar could be a ticket to riches, anywhere from a few $100s to $500,000 or even millions if it's a once-in-a-lifetime error. Coins like this prove that history isn't just in museums, it's in our pockets, waiting to be discovered. Who knows, the next big bicentennial error could be sitting in your hands right now. The 1979 P. error Susan B. Anthony dollar is one of those coins that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. At first glance it looks like a simple dollar coin, the kind most people would overlook, toss in a drawer, or use at a vending machine. But what if I told you that inside this series, among the Philadelphia Mint strikes of 1979, are hidden treasures so rare that they can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars, a coin that continues to shock collectors with its history, its mistakes, and its unbelievable values at auction. The year was 1979, and the United States Mint decided to retire the bulky Eisenhower dollar and introduce a new, smaller-sized dollar coin that would be easier to use. They chose to honor Susan B. Anthony, the famous suffragist and women's rights leader, making her the first real woman to ever appear on a circulating U.S. coin. The design was historic. The idea was ambitious. But almost immediately there was a problem. The new dollar was too close in size, weight, and color to the quarter. Cashiers confused it. Vending machines rejected it. The public didn't care for it. And so, millions of these coins were struck but hardly loved. Yet among them, the Philadelphia Mint coins, especially those carrying strange minting errors, would one day become some of the most collectible modern U.S. dollars ever created. The double die is one of the most sought-after categories of the 1979 P. error Susan B. Anthony dollar. When a die used to strike the coin is improperly prepared, the letters, numbers, or even parts of Liberty's portrait can show ghost-like doubling. On the 1979 P, collectors hunt for doubled lettering on the motto or on the date itself. A strong double die error can turn an ordinary dollar into a coin worth hundreds of dollars instantly. The more dramatic the doubling, the higher the price climbs, and some examples certified in top condition have been known to fetch thousands. But errors come in many forms. One of the most exciting types found on the 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not struck directly in the center of the blank, leaving part of the design missing and part of the coin blank. A 5% or 10% off-center strike might bring in a few $100s, but when you find a 1979 P error Susan B. Anthony dollar struck 40% or even 50% off-center with the date still visible, you are holding a coin that can bring $5,000 to $10,000, or more at auction. Each off-center coin is unique, like a fingerprint, and collectors will pay handsomely for these dramatic mistakes. But the rarest and most valuable 1979 P error Susan B. Anthony dollar coins are the ones that combine multiple errors into a single piece. An off-center strike that also happens to be on the wrong planchet. A double die with a dramatic die clash. These hybrid errors are so rare that each one becomes a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. When they hit the auction block, the sky is the limit. Collectors know they may never see another one again, and the bidding wars drive the prices into the stratosphere. We're talking about coins that can sell for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in the right circumstances, even millions. Now let's bring in some real-world numbers. Common 1979p Susan B. Anthony dollars might only be worth $1 or $2. The wide rim variety in average condition might bring in $3,000 to $5,000, but in pristine, mint state grades, that same wide rim 1979p can reach values of $1,000, $6,000, or even more. An off-center 1979p Susan B. Anthony dollar has sold for well over $10,000. A wrong planchet strike has crossed the $20,000 threshold. And some spectacular multiple error coins are valued at $30,000 or more. Imagine a single dollar coin selling for more than the cost of a new luxury car. That's the reality of this hobby. And with every passing year, as collectors recognize the rarity of these pieces, the values continue to rise. The 1979 era Susan B. Anthony dollar is one of the most fascinating and valuable coins of modern American history, and it's one that continues to shock collectors with its secrets and its staggering auction prices. Imagine holding a dollar coin in your hand, the kind that most people would toss into a cash drawer or feed into a vending machine, and then discovering that it isn't just worth $1. Not $10. Not even $100. Some of these coins, because of rare errors and minting varieties, have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. The year was 1979, and the U.S. Mint made history by introducing the Susan B. Anthony dollar, the first small-size dollar coin and the first to feature a real American woman. Susan B. Anthony, the legendary suffragist, appeared on the obverse, while the reverse carried the familiar eagle landing on the moon design, borrowed from the Eisenhower dollar. The idea was to make a more practical dollar coin, smaller and lighter than the Eisenhower, but still carrying national pride. The mint struck the coins in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and it was at the San Francisco Mint where some of the most valuable and rarest errors ever recorded would be born. The wrong planchet strikes are even more dramatic. Imagine a 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar accidentally struck on a blank meant for a cent, nickel, quarter, or even a foreign coin. These are the ultimate minting mistakes, the kind of one in a billion errors that make headlines when they appear at auction. Some of these wrong planchet strikes have been valued in the tens of thousands, and if a truly spectacular discovery were made, say a proof strike on a silver planchet, the value could soar into the hundreds of thousands or even millions. But what makes the 1979 era Susan B. Anthony dollar so unique is the way multiple varieties and errors can combine to create one-of-a-kind pieces. Imagine a proof coin with a clear S mint mark, a double die obverse, and a dramatic die clash. Such a coin would be so rare that collectors would fight for it at auction, pushing the price into uncharted territory. Or picture a 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar struck on the wrong planchet, with an off-center strike, all in pristine proof condition. That would be the ultimate find, a coin so rare that its value could reach into the six-figure or even seven-figure range. Let's talk about real numbers. A common 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar might only be worth a few dollars. Proof can bring $2,000 to $5,000 depending on condition. But the proof in high grades can reach $500, $1,000, or more. Add in a dramatic double die, and suddenly you're in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Off-center proof strikes and wrong planchet errors can leap to $25,000, $50,000, or beyond. And when these coins hit major auction houses, the bidding wars can push them even higher. Some collectors estimate that the most spectacular 1979 era Susan B. Anthony dollar coins could be million-dollar treasures if the right example is discovered. So don't dismiss the Susan B. Anthony dollar. Don't overlook the S mint mark. Don't it's just pocket change, look closely, study the rim. Study the mint mark. Check for doubling, check for off-center strikes, weigh it carefully. Because that little dollar coin in your hand could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions. And that is the thrill of collecting.
There are rare 1966-era Washington quarters out there that collectors around the world are desperately searching for. Coins that have sold for eye-popping amounts at auction. 1966 Washington quarter double die obverse. Sold for $18,400 at Heritage Auctions, 1966 off-center quarter, 70% off. Fetched nearly $10,000 at Stack's Bowers, 1966 quarter struck on dime planchet. Brought in $23,500, high-grade 1966 MS68 quarter. Realized $15,275 just for its pristine condition alone. Now imagine if your coin combines a mint error and near-perfect condition. We're talking life-changing money here. Why are the most rare 1966 error Washington quarter coins worth thousands or even millions of dollars? Value in history. What if I told you that a simple 1966 Washington quarter, a coin you might find lying in your change jar or hidden in an old drawer, could be worth thousands, even millions of dollars today? Moneybag sounds unbelievable, right? But it's 100% true. Money with wings. This isn't just pocket change. It's hidden treasure from one of the most mysterious years in U.S. minting history. So stay with me till the end of this video because we'll explore the fascinating history, rare errors, collector demand, and real-life auction values of these coins that could make you rich overnight. Let's uncover why the 1966 Washington quarter is more than just 25 cents. It's a piece of American history and a possible jackpot for collectors. Rocket history of the 1966 Washington quarter. The year 1966 was a major turning point in U.S. coinage history. Just 1 year earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint made a bold move, removing silver from circulating coins due to skyrocketing silver prices. Before that, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But from 1965 onward, the composition changed to a copper-nickel-clad coin with a pure copper core and a nickel outer layer. Because of this massive change, 1966 quarters were not struck with mint marks, and coin collectors faced limited access to mint sets, making these coins more mysterious and harder to track in pristine condition. The government even banned coin hoarding for a short time, which only made people want these coins more. In short, the 1966 quarter marks the birth of the modern clad era, a bridge between old silver coins and new copper-nickel ones. And as with any major transition, this change produced unique minting errors, some of which are now worth a fortune. Rare error varieties of the 1966 Washington quarter. Now here's where things get really exciting. The 1966 quarter might look simple, but certain error versions are considered legendary among collectors. Here are the most valuable and talked about ones. 1966 double die obverse, DDO. This is one of the most popular and valuable 1966 errors. A double die obverse occurs when the die, the stamp used to strike the coin, imprints the design twice at slightly different angles. Depending on the clarity of the doubling, DDO errors can fetch anywhere from $1,000 to over $25,000, and even higher for pristine examples graded by PCGS or NGC. 1966 off-center strike error. Off-center strikes happen when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned with the dies. The result is a quarter with part of its design missing and an uneven blank edge. Moneybag value. Light off-centers, 5 to 10%. May sell for $100 to $300, but dramatic ones, 40% or more off-center with visible date, can skyrocket to $2,000 to $10,000 at auction. 1966 clipped planchet error. This happens when the metal blank used to make the coin is punched incorrectly, cutting off part of the edge in a crescent shape. Depending on size and visual appeal, these can be worth $250 to $1,500.1966 wrong. Planchet error, struck on nickel or dime planchet. One of the most valuable 1966 errors is when the quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet mint for another denomination, like a nickel or dime. These are extremely rare and highly sought after. Moneybag value. A 1966 quarter struck on a dime planchet recently sold for over $20,000, while one struck on a nickel planchet fetched nearly $30,000. 1966 missing clad layer error. In this incredible error, the nickel layer is missing from one or both sides, revealing the copper core beneath. The result is a reddish or brownish coin that looks almost like a penny. Moneybag value. Depending on condition, these can bring anywhere from $500 to $5,000 or more. 1966 double struck or broad struck error. Double struck coins are hit twice by the die, while broad struck coins are pressed without the retaining collar, causing them to expand and appear flat or spread out. Moneybag value. Rare examples can sell for $1,000 to $10,000 plus, depending on how dramatic the error appears. How to identify rare 1966 error Washington quarters. Even though millions of 1966 Washington quarters were made, only a small number have rare and valuable minting errors. To identify one, you'll need to carefully examine your coin under good light, and sometimes with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, 10x or higher. Start with the basics. Before looking for errors, confirm that your coin is truly from 1966 and doesn't have a mint mark. None should appear because the mint stopped using them during 1965 to 1967. Always check every old quarter, especially 1965, 1966, and 1967, because these were transitional years and the mint was experimenting with new Materials and methods. That means more chances for rare and valuable mint errors to exist. Even a small misprint could make you the owner of a $20,000 or $50,000 coin. So grab a magnifier, look closely, and you might just find a hidden treasure sitting in your change jar. Moneybag Sparkles, would you like me to format this identification section into a YouTube script with voiceover tone and visual cues like zoom-ins and text overlays? It would make it perfect for your coin's circular video narration that why these errors are so valuable. Collectors crave 1966 quarters because they represent a perfect storm of rarity, history, and human error. Since mint marks were not used and the mint was transitioning to new metal compositions, quality control was inconsistent, leading to fascinating error varieties. Moreover, these coins mark a historical shift from precious metal to modern clad coinage, which makes them emotionally and historically significant. The errors from this year serve as time capsules of that transition, each one telling a story of technological adjustment and minting evolution. The demand from collectors is strong because these coins are hard to find in circulation today, rarely discovered in unsearched rolls, difficult to locate in mint state condition, and when rarity meets collector demand, values can soar into the thousands or even millions for the right coin. Fire Trophy Real Auction RNAs. Here are some jaw-dropping real-world auction examples. 1966 Washington Quarter Double Die Obverse. Sold for $18,400 at Heritage Auctions. 1966 Off-Center Quarter, 70% off. Fetched nearly $10,000 at Stack's Bowers. 1966 Quarter struck on dime planchet. Brought in $23. 500. High Grade 1966 MS68 Quarter. Realized $15,275 just for its pristine condition alone. Now imagine if your coin combines a mint error and near-perfect condition. We're talking life-changing money here. Money with Wings tips for collectors. If you're hunting for these treasures, here are expert tips. Inspect every coin carefully. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to spot doubling or surface anomalies. Check the weight. Wrong planchet errors will often weigh less or more than the standard 5.67 grams. Don't clean the coin. Cleaning can drastically reduce value. Leave it in its natural state. Get it graded. Submit rare-looking coins to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. Search unsearched rolls. Bank rolls or inherited jars from the 60s might still hide these gems. Collector demand and legacy. The 1966 Washington Quarter is beloved not just for its errors, but for what it represents: the resilience of American coinage during a time of change. Collectors see it as a bridge between eras, and every error coin tells a unique story of minting history. Today, both new and seasoned collectors are paying premium prices for high-grade and rare error examples.